Okay, Bobby, you love Arden's Burger and Grill because you know what? I got me a sampler platter. That's right. She made me a sampler platter of everything Uncle Bobby loves. Look at there. We got the s'mores French toast. Ooh, we got some wings. And we got the powdered burger. And you know what, Uncle Bobby? He loves you some wings, I'm telling you right now. You will not miss. I'll tell you, the double dip wings will make you double dip crazy. I'm telling you right now, it's the best thing you ever put in your mouth. Oh yeah, and French toast. Hey, they serve breakfast all day long. No. Uncle Bobby loves them for French toast. And folks, the paladin burger. Ooh, blueberry barbecue sauce, smoked Gouda cheese. Yum yum. Make sure you get down here to Arden's Burger and Grill Central. Uncle Bobby, I commend it, recommend it, everything that is amended. I do it here at Arden's Burger and Grill in Central South Carolina. And don't forget, they're going to open a place called Beef and Ribbies. That's right, it's going to be so good it sticks to your ribbies and makes you do this all day long. I'm telling you right now, come to Arden's Burger and Grill, TGFF Gameday.
Good morning, everyone in the college football world. We are back for show number 2 of the college football season, and we are going today. I'm alongside my best friend, co-host Jay Jacobs, and today we're going to be talking about pretty much 13 games today, Jay. So again, it's Friday, and you know what that means. So it's thank God for football. So football is back, week 1.
Exactly. We had a great weekend, week 0, all the way up through last night. Some great games. You, of course, went unbeaten. And I lost one game. I had picked Minnesota. You had picked North Carolina. So the one game we were separate on, you took the title this past week. So, but hey, we had better luck than everybody else. Man. Let's just say the 4-letter network really got it wrong this past week.
Right.
And me and you, we did very well. And looking forward, hey, this show, different from last show, we got a lot of guys coming on from different conferences giving us their thoughts on their conference, who they picked this week. So we're going to have, this is going to be what our normal show is going to be, everybody. You're going to be seeing people coming on from different conferences giving their ideas. And me and Justin is going to be facilitating it. And it's going to be a great show, and we look forward to it.
Yep, and as you can guys see down on the bottom, those are our 13 games this week that we are going to be picking. We got correspondents from all over the country, Jay. We got Sunbelt, we got SoCon, we got ACC, we got SEC, we got Big 10, Big 12, we got them all. So, and shameless plug for myself, as the ACC guy, 3-0. On my ACC picks last week, so and then got the NC State Western pick as well. So can't complain about the week that was. So looking forward to another great week, Jay. So can't wait.
Exactly. First thing we want to do is talk about the big game last week, Florida State, Georgia Tech. We both said it. Florida State was not what they was on paper. Yes, they had a lot of talent influx to the portal, but we just saw portal doesn't always win you a football game. And Georgia Tech, Brett, what can you say about him? And after the game, he flipped a Georgia player to Georgia Tech. So,
right.
I tell you what, that game was just a big game last week, and I couldn't be more happier as a Clemson fan watching Florida State get that loss. And, of course, I also know that means we got to play Georgia Tech down the road. So, we had a good week. That's the one game I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The one that I really was kind of shocked, not really shocked, but, the Minnesota and North Carolina game really was a much more defensive battle than what I really thought it was going to be. North Carolina's defense really impressed me yesterday. So, they tend to look like they might have some improvement there this year, Jay. So, certainly something to look forward to throughout this season, see how they continue to build upon this good win for them yesterday. So looking forward to it, Jay.
And I want to say something. I think we both agree on this. There is no more such thing as a cupcake if it is a top 20 FCS team. These teams are getting them, and they're finding out that you're not going to run over them. NC State, we mentioned it last week. We knew they was going to win, but we knew Western Carolina was going to give them every bit of their money. Now, I never thought Western Carolina would be in the lead at halftime, but we saw when it comes to the end, it's the Jimmys and Joes, what happens. I mean, they just couldn't hang in that fourth quarter with the elite talent that NC State had. The same with New Mexico getting the loss. Same with
North Dakota State.
Yeah, North Dakota State and Colorado. I mean, and even Dion said today, it feels weird to be in a game you won, but no, you didn't. I mean, that right there tells you that he knew that North Dakota State was not any team to play with, and if he wants Colorado to be a tough team, he's going to have to do better.
Absolutely. But Jay, man, it's that time, man, where it's time for us to bring on our other fantastic members of this crew. So we are going to kick this show off this week with talking about your neck of the woods, the Southern Conference this week. So we got some really great games down there. Obviously, one of the games we're going to be picking is going to be that Furman Ole Miss game in the Grove. So really looking forward to seeing, again, another top FCS team going on the road against an SEC team. So let's see how the folks down in Oxford do this week. So with all that said, we're going to get our guys on this week. Our first correspondent that we're going to be bringing in is going to be our guy, SoCon John. And he's going to be breaking down the Southern Conference for us to start out. As you guys can see, we have our two good friends of the program. SoCon John is back and better than ever. And he's going to give us his breakdown of the Southern Conference this week. Welcome to the show, my guy.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here and looking forward to talking some Southern Conference football and ready to go for a full slate of games tomorrow and some really interesting matchups, I think.
Give us your
Southern Conference. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say one of the matchups that sticks out to me is an old Southern Conference clash between Appalachian State and Tennessee State. And really, you know, when you think about this matchup, you got a new head coach in Trey Lamb who takes his Buccaneers that are a lot. They've got over 20 transfers, I think, from Gardner-Webb. So he coached at Gardner-Webb last year. And the interesting thing about this matchup is the fact that last year, Gardner-Webb opened up at Appalachian State, and Trey Lamb was the head coach at Gardner-Webb. So he knows the surroundings of Kid Brewer Stadium and what the atmosphere is going to be like when he goes into Kid Brewer Stadium. An interesting thing about Appalachian State is that was the first time that App State fans had a chance to see Joey Aguilar, the quarterback, there as he came in for injured Ryan Berger in that game. And that was sort of where his story was born against Trey Lamb, against Gardner-Webb last season in the season opener. For East Tennessee State, I mean, they have a lot of question marks. They've got quarterback in Jalen King, who played a lot. I think he started 7 games last year down the stretch for Gardner-Webb. He's won the starting job. They have some talent at the skill positions. I think Xavier Guyardet's at receiver is really going to be impressive this year. And, you know, you look at their offensive line, they've kind of pieced together an offensive front that I think has enough veteran leadership in terms of what they got from the transfer portal that will make them at least competitive in the SoCon. Now, tomorrow it might be a little bit of a different animal handling in their pass rush and a very good defensive line for the Mountaineers. So I'll kind of have my eye on that, because last year, if you remember back to that Gardner-Webb game last year, it was a game that Appalachian State started bringing more pressure in the third quarter, and they were able to, if you'll remember, Gardner-Webb actually had the lead in the third quarter in that game. App State was actually able to start distancing themselves when they were able to bring that pass rush. So I wonder how prepared ETSU will be for that this year, because having faced that last year, Trey Lamb. And I also wonder what the countermeasures will be taken by App State, knowing that they'll probably be prepared for that. So if there'll be anything that they try to disguise against a relatively young quarterback in Jalen King. So that kicked off at 3:30 there in Boone, North Carolina at Kid Brewer Stadium. So it should be, they're talking about App State as being one of those potential playoff teams, them and Liberty from the group of 5 conferences. So that is, I'm really looking forward to that as one of my matchups.
Awesome. You got a prediction on that one, my guy?
I mean, as much as I'd like to see East Tennessee State keep it close, I think, Appalachian's probably a little bit better than they were last year. And I think ETSU will keep it decent for a half, but I see something in the neighborhood of, 45-14, something like that. Maybe a little more, but I think that, I ventured, because I predicted last night, if we go back to the the NC State and Western Carolina game, I predicted a big score in that game, like 66-17. Boy, I look like an idiot, so I think App State will win by multiple scores, but I'm not gonna put a score on it. But I do think in these type games, I think, if you think about them, sort of for the FCS team, they're about winning. How many plays can you win within that game? It's not necessarily about the game itself. And Western Carolina, if you look back to that matchup last night, they won a lot of plays in that game. In the first half especially, they were kind of manhandling NC State's offensive line. I mean, that was – and another thing that – going back to that game, I know we're supposed to talk about this weekend, but Western Carolina was really impressive in terms of their speed at cornerback. Very physical, and they almost dared NC State to throw the ball deep. And 2 guys from South Florida, I believe, Amedeo Sadipo was one of those guys, and CJ Williams, the other one, I believe, is from Miami. So there's a lot of speed to go around down there, and I just thought their defensive backs, the improvement that they showed in that area as opposed to last year under a new defensive coordinator and Jerry Odom, who was the former Tusculum head coach, was a brilliant stroke of genius, I think, from Kerwin Bell to kind of bring him into that program. And it will be fascinating to see as the season moves along. Not as much to watch the Western Carolina offense. We Player of the Year Cole Gonzalez at quarterback. So that wasn't as much as what I was watching as much as I was watching the defense, because that's been, if Western had an adequate defense in previous years, I think they would have been in the playoffs, and we wouldn't be having the discussion of it's been 43 years since they've been to an FCS, or 41 years since they've been to the FCS playoffs. And that was the same year, of course, they went all the way to the national championship and lost to Southern Illinois back in 1983. So, and also they've never won a Southern Conference title in football. And that's something that, we should probably keep an eye on this year. I think they're really good, and they'll be right there challenging for a title along with Furman and Chattanooga, I think.
What's your thoughts on the Chattanooga game? They're going to be taking on Tennessee. I mean, everybody knows Tennessee's going to be the big favorite, but I mean, something I was talking Justin about, John, was you can't no longer call a top 20 FCS team a cupcake team anymore. These teams are coming out. They've got people coming in on the portal, and they're showing that they can compete.
Right, and I think everybody assumes that, when these teams like Tennessee and Furman plays Ole Miss, I mean, like, if you think about it in terms of they're predicting, I heard some podcast from Ole Miss predicting that they could score 100 points on Furman if they wanted to. Well, they could. But the one thing that you have to look at in those situations is it's really hard to score. Against a bad team, it's hard to score 70 points. Like, I thought about that, and I was like, can Tennessee score that many on Chattanooga? I don't think so. I mean, I think Chattanooga's pretty good on defense, and I think that, Tennessee on paper, they're more talented at every position, but I don't think just because you're more talented at every position means you're going to win every play, because you'd have to execute flawlessly, and that's just not going to happen. I mean, Chattanooga's good enough on defense that they're going to make some plays in that game. And I think from a fan's perspective, if you look at a fan base like Tennessee's, they get absolutely just flabbergasted when Chattanooga makes big plays, or that it's like they shouldn't be able to do that. But it's a game of football, and I think Tennessee's going to be really good, but I don't think they'll be, really good. I think they're better than Chattanooga, but no team comes out and is just hitting at mid-season form in their first game. I've never really seen that. So, and Chattanooga too, I think their offense, you talk about Artopius, the quarterback, he was a guy that we didn't really know when he came in from UCLA, and he's a guy that didn't play a lot for Chip Kelly out there, and he kind of got in there and really started to light it up. Yeah. Slowly progressed as non-conference play went to conference play. And then when he got in conference play, started really tearing it up. And I think he's a guy, if you talk to some coaches around the league, I know there are a lot of guys that are – you think Cole Gonzalez is the best quarterback?
Week 1 of the 2024 college football season is here, and I've got you covered with everything to know about Week 1 of the Big 12 slate. The non-con schedule kicked off on Thursday, and we'll talk a little bit about what's ahead, what's coming down the pipeline, as well as give you some debuts to talk about, game of the weeks, as well as a couple of different things with sports betting lines, players to watch, so on and so forth. For those of you that haven't met me, my name is Joe Tillery. I cover Kansas State over on my YouTube channel. It's Joe Tillery. If you're interested in hearing me talk about the Cats, that is the place. I also cover the Big 12 Conference for Heartland College Sports as an official writer and podcaster for them. So I cover the league, and I've been around a little bit with the company, so I'm excited to be here with you guys talking ball about America's conference, the Big 12 Conference. Now, the quick things to mention about the Big 12 Conference, it is the deepest running back conference in America. Listen to this list of names I'm about to read you, and then consider what's coming down the pipeline next. You've got the reigning Doak Walker Award winner in Ollie Gordon at Oklahoma State. You got Devin Neal from Kansas, Texas Tech's Taj Brooks, DJ Giddens at Kansas State, RJ Harvey at UCF, Cincinnati's Corey Kiner, and the duo of Jaheim White and CJ Donaldson over at West Virginia. You've also got Abu Sama, who went off last season down the stretch. And then there's some newcomers to consider. Penny Boone joins UCF in a backfield that is terrifying. You get Penny Boone, RJ Harvey, and Johnny Richardson, all dudes that can break the game open in a heartbeat. Colorado running back Dylan Edwards transfers to Kansas State. That's a big name to watch. Then you get a guy like Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, who had 1,000 yards last year, and then you finish it off with Arizona State's Cam Scatabo. You've got some dudes, long story short, but the narrative that I choose to focus on is that the quarterback position might be even deeper than the running back position of the Big 12. Listen to this. Colorado's Shedeur Sanders has made a ton of headlines, both good and bad lately, but either way, it's centered around the fact that the dude can play the game of football. Arizona's Noah Fafita, who balled out in his freshman season. You've got Avery Johnson. You got Jalen Daniels. Cam Rising coming back from his injury. He's back in action this season. One of the most slept-on players in the country, who we'll talk about here in a sec. Garrett Green for West Virginia is a dude that needs to be mentioned, alongside a guy like Iowa State's Rocco Becht and KJ Jefferson, new to the league at UCF. And even when you consider that, those top names, you've got guys that, are more middle-of-the-pack guys or bottom-of-the-league packs, at least in the national media spotlight. You've got guys down there that are still making big names for themselves and become household names in their own right. Donovan Smith at Houston. You've got Brendan Sorsby for Cincinnati, who a lot of people in that building do like. Then you got a guy like Daquan Finn, who transferred to Baylor from Toledo. Do I think the Bears will be great? I don't, but I think the quarterback play will be a step up from Blake Shapen. And then you've got the gunslinger down there in Lubbock and Baron Morton at Texas Tech. So there's a ton of different names to watch, but let's talk about the different games to watch specifically. Now, it goes without saying, there's not a lot of great matchups in terms of the Week 1 spot for anybody. There's very few Power 5 matchups in Week 1 for anybody. You get a lot of the Kansas State UT Martins or the Kansas Lindenwoods out there. The Big 12 has its fair share of dominant matchups, including the game that everybody is talking about, whether you're in the building or not, whether you're a fan, player, coach. Everybody wants to know what's going on in Morgantown when the West Virginia Mountaineers take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. In a rematch from last season, Recently, the last couple of days, James Franklin's talked about it. Neil Brown's talked about it, a defensive lineman for West Virginia as well. Talked about Penn State scoring with 6 seconds left and using that as motivation. Neil Brown kind of said it is what it is in typical Neil Brown fashion, but West Virginia's defense is taking it personal. Do I think the Mountaineers are going to put up a good fight? I do. Do I think they can win the game? I do. But that spread of 8 points is such a toss-up to me. I don't know what's going to happen with Penn State offensively. The reason I say that is they added a huge name at the offensive coordinator spot from Kansas this past season in Andy Kotelnicki, who I think truly is one of the best minds in offensive football. So the spread's still kind of up in the air for me, but Kansas has had its fair share of hard times going up against Neil Brown's defense. So something that could continue in Penn State versus West Virginia. I think the Mountaineers are going to shock the world. I think Garrett Green's going to be that dude. It is not easy to play in Morgantown, and that's what I'd look for. But the bet I would take there, if I had to take one, take the over. 51.5. I think these teams are going to score. Andy Kotelnicki puts up points. I know Penn State wasn't great last season offensively. I know West Virginia wasn't a huge offensive firepower team. Garrett Green isn't taking hostages this year. That dude can play, and he's going to do it early on against Penn State. If I had to finish with 3 bets to watch, I would take the over on West Virginia Penn State. I would take Houston minus 2.5. And then I would finish it off, and this is bold for you risk takers out there, I will take Kansas minus 48. Wherever you get it at, I would take it. They're playing Lindenwood. Guys, Lindenwood's been a Division I school for 3 years. This is their 3rd season. I know that's almost 50 points, but I don't expect Lindenwood to score in this game. I think KU could easily reach the 50 mark and cover that spread. But those are going to do it. Those are my 3 picks. Will they hit? I'm not sure. If they don't, call me out on Twitter over at Tillery_Joe. But I'll see you next week with more Big 12 action to discuss.
I want to shout out our newest partner, Dubby energy drinks. You know, energy drink, you get the powder, you mix it up at home, but it's better than any of that coffee, any of that energy drink you get. There's no crash, no jitters, no angst. They have a patented neural factor. That's the star of the show. They got brain food. I'm talking taurine, tyrosine, glutamine, more. They only have the best amino acids. Only the best brain benefiting vitamins. I'm talking B3, B12, vitamin C, much more. I'm also talking 150 milligrams of caffeine, so just like your energy, it gives you that kick. There's no sugar, no maltodextrin, no fake colors, no dyes, no fillers, no BS. You can go to dubby.gg, dubby.gg. Make sure you use the code REALFRESH, 2 words, code REALFRESH. Get 10% off for your order.
I don't have any of their drinks.
Yeah. Welcome back to the show. Thank you again so much for our second sponsor of the show, Dubby Energy Drink. They are definitely one of your sources for go-to energy. So thank you guys so much for helping out the show. At this time, we're going to bring on our other special guest correspondent, our guy from the Sun Belt Conference, the Teal Roost podcast. So, John, thank you so much for joining the show. Definitely looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this upcoming week's games in the Sun Belt. And I'm going to let you kick it off. Go ahead and get started.
Well, I appreciate y'all having me on, first of all, and I look forward to doing this every week. I think it's a fun kind of thing to either be really informative for yourself and others or not too informative, depending on how you look at it. But well, I wanted to first of all start off and say that I could have had some of that energy drink because I was up too late last night. And, you know, you never want to say in a game, you know, can you guys just end this thing so we can go on home? But they wanted to play it out. So, you know, they had a fantastic – Coastal had a fantastic opening game for the season. I'm kind of in shock right now, and I'm sure there are many others out there that are just like me right now that are in total shock from what they saw last night. And, you know, I made it to a couple of practices, and it's kind of hard to tell things, you know, when they're in practice. You're not up on the tower, you're at ground level. You can't really see all the things that are happening. But I guess the thing that shocks me the most about what I experienced last night, what I saw in this team, in this program, was, man, they went out and got 64 dudes out of the portal and came to play. And half of these guys, I don't even know their names. I'm still trying to learn. It'll take me half a season to learn how to pronounce some of them. I have no idea who any of these guys are. I mean, we may have had 5 starting returners on defense, and that was where we were the strongest. I mean, we've got a few guys that came back on offense, but, you know, they had medium playing time. It wasn't a whole lot. And what exploded on that field in Jacksonville, Alabama last night is just beyond me even trying to figure it out at this point. It's going to take a little bit of time. But I could say this. They came and they played. Ethan Vasco, had some big shoes to fill last season when Grayson went down in the middle of the season. And having said that, he came in and filled a big void. He ended up going, I think, 3-1 or 4-1, including the bowl game win. But he showed a lot of maturity. He's a big kid. He's 210 pounds, 6'1", and just built like a brick. And so he's one of those quarterbacks that you have that quarterback run capability with. And he gave him that spark last night. You saw him run a lot.
Oh, yeah.
He's big and he's hard to tackle. I mean, you really got to wrap him up to tackle him. Kind of made me think about while I was watching the game last night because it got so out of hand there at one time to score. I said, this kind of reminds me of a Tim Tebow type quarterback situation.
Yeah.
He's not as big and he's not as physical as Tebow was, but he's got a lot of that characteristic. And he can easily drop back. He doesn't see something, he'll tuck the ball and go. And he's not afraid to take a hit. You very seldom ever see him slide much. And he's going to be very effective. Braden Bennett came back last night. He's been somebody that's been passionate in my heart since I saw him coming into the Coastal program. He got hurt early in his career and spent a lot of time on the pine trying to get healed up. And he was able to do that some at a pretty good passion last year at the end of the season, the last 3 or 4 games, and he got into the program and got going again, and his performance is wonderful. He's a big kid, here, South Carolina boy. He runs hard, and he's one of those. He reminds you of a couple of NFL running backs, those kind that run straight up in the air, and you wonder how they don't get killed. They're effective in running like that. Well, he's that kind of running back. And
so who you got this weekend?
Huh?
Who are your picks this weekend?
Who are your picks for this week?
I had to go deep here because what I wanted to do over the next few weeks of doing this was I wanted to get into the East and look at it first because that's the conference that we're in, the side that we play in, and kind of pair it out and see how things shake out with the East prediction-wise. At least come up with, I think, a viable top 3 in the East and the West. And then we'll see where it goes the rest of the season. But my pick this week is JMU. Now, a lot of the guys are playing out of conference games this week. And I wanted to dig into JMU. JMU came into the league last year. They wanted to go ahead and jump ship and get viable to be able to play in bowl games and things that they had to wait through that 2-year probation period. Now, well, they're here now, and they had a coaching change. They had Kurt Signetti, which was their head coach up there, left to take an Indiana job when it opened up. So he's up in the Big Ten now, and you got Bob Chesney that's their new head coach there. I don't really think that he took a dramatic hit in his program when coaches left and followed Signetti and players left. Their starting quarterback left, but then he came back. He got in the portal and then he got out of the portal. So, they've got a lot of players that are back in key positions, but I don't think they're the team that they were last year at a one-loss program. They're going to be a team this year, I think, that really – I picked them to finish second in the conference in the East behind Appalachian State. And I picked them to finish, in the 8-4 mark because I believe that's really where they're going to be at. They're going to lose that many games just looking at their schedule and looking at the strength that they're playing against in the East alone. They're going to get beat up a little bit. It's kind of like you guys talk about in the ACC all the time. All you do is just beat each other up. Well, the Sun Belt Conference has gotten very, very even matched in its football programs. And, you've got at least 4 to 5 teams in each division of the East and West that are very competitive with each other week in, week out.
Yeah.
So, having said that, I see that they're going to, come in somewhere in that area. I believe they're not the same team they were as a one-loss team last year. They did lose some players to the NFL. They lost some to graduation. The natural progression that you get in every program.
So what's your score for this week's game?
I'm picking them to beat Charlotte 35-17. I don't think Charlotte's really going to be that much of a competition with them. They may be one of those teams that hangs around the first half, but then after that, JMU is going to show them their muscle, and I think it's going to be a good game. They square up well. They've had matchups that go back, I think, to 2013 roughly, and JMU's won the last two that they played, dating back to 2013. So, I think they're going to be a competitive team this week.
So who's your next game for this week that you're picking?
Well, the other one is I had to go ahead and pick a massacre game because that's what it's going to turn out to be unless the wheels fall off the bus or something. And that's ODU against South Carolina. I think ODU is just simply going in there to get a paycheck like a lot of teams do at the beginning of the year. They'll put 85,000 people there in Williams-Brice, and they'll go home with a nice paycheck. But, I don't really expect them to be able to do much in that game. And I don't understand those types of scheduling reasons other than for the money aspect of it, because it doesn't do you any good towards, trying to effectively do something to get yourself aligned to go in this new 12 team playoff,
Yeah, well, the problem with that though also is programs like that need to have that money to survive. So I can understand some of the reasons. Well, John, we appreciate you coming on and doing that for us. And next week you're going to do the next division, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to look at a little bit in the West next week, and then I may pick another game out of the East. So I'll give you at least 2 games a week, and I'll, of course, have the Chanticleers next Saturday. Let me throw a little plug in it. We're on the air next Saturday night at 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus, and we'll be matched up against William and Mary. And I got to go to work on that and do some homework because I haven't seen William and Mary play football for a long time, and I have really no idea, what we're looking at matchup wise or. I don't know, so I'm going to have to.
Well, they're a top 10 FCS team, so get ready because Furman's got them next. So they got them after you.
I saw their game at one point on Saturday or on Thursday, and I could have sworn they were up like 54-0 or something like that. Whenever they were playing, they were absolutely obliterating them. So, listen, guys, I appreciate y'all having me on this week. I look forward to it next week. And if I talk too much, just cut me off because that's what I love.
You're good. And hey, plug your podcast and where they can find you.
Well, I'm on the podcast mainly. I've switched everything. I've kind of got out of the Spotify thing, and now I'm just about all total video on YouTube. And my YouTube address is the beginning of YouTube.com, and then I think it's a / at the Teal Roost podcast. I believe it is, and I'll have a little plug up on the screen next week that'll take you to the address as soon as you click on it. But that'll take you all of our podcasts, all of our shorts and reels and everything else we have up there, community information.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, John. Thanks for the Sunbelt information. And we look forward to having you each and every week here on the TGFF Game Day.
Thank you. Y'all have a great weekend and go
so much to our Sunbelt correspondent. We are going to be extending the next show is going to be our guy from SSN Florida, and we're going to be discussing all of this week's games from the SEC. So we are looking forward to that insight. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing what we got next week in the SEC.
What is up, everybody? I am Sideline Sports Gators. You can find me at SSN_Gators on X or Twitter, whatever you call it. You can find me at SSN_Gators. So I'm here to talk some SEC ball. I picked 4 SEC games, and we're just going to talk some ball. I'll tell you some betting the betting portion of the game, who I think is going to win, and just some facts about the game. Let's get into it. Game 1, I have the number 14 Clemson Tigers versus the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs in Atlanta. Last time these two teams met was the 2021 season opener. Clemson entered that game as a 3-point favorite, but Georgia did end up winning that game 10-3. DJU, the current FSU quarterback, threw a pick 6 in that game, and ever since then, that was, of course, the first national championship season for the Bulldogs, and then they've won another after that. The Tigers last year were a solid 9-4. Pretty average year for Clemson. Of course, Dabo had his whole thing with the radio collar, and that kind of ended up turning Clemson's season around. So, and then Georgia, of course, 13-1, killed FSU in the Orange Bowl, but lost to Alabama in the SEC championship, so did not make the playoffs. But of course, they are playoff favorite for this year. Georgia enters this week 1 matchup as 13.5-point favorites, and the over-under is 48.5. Klubnik versus Beck. I feel like this is going to be one of the best quarterback matchups we end up seeing all year. Klubnik, I think, is very underrated, and I think he's going to shut a lot of people up this year, and Clemson is going to be in the playoffs. Beck is, of course, returning Heisman candidate. He is actually my Heisman winner this year, and I just think the Dogs are way too powerful to lose this one, so I have Georgia winning and covering with all their power. Game 2 is the Sunday night matchup, or Monday, I don't know, Sunday or Monday night matchup, LSU versus Southern Cal. Number 13 LSU versus number 25 USC. This game is in Vegas. LSU is a 4-point favorite. This is, of course, Garrett Nussmeier's team now. Jaden Daniels is gone in the NFL, so all Nussmeier now. But even though that Jaden Daniels had, of course, Heisman numbers last year, he also had 2 first-round receivers in Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. And, I mean, Nussmeier doesn't have that. Of course, he has SEC caliber talent, but it's not what he had maybe in practice or when he came in late in games last year. And, of course, Caleb Williams is gone, so USC, their offense is a little revamped as well. I don't know much about USC in general. I'm here to cover the SEC, but I like the Tigers to win and cover. Game 3, Notre Dame versus at Texas A&M. This is a night game in College Station. A&M is 3-point favorites. And the Irish are number 7 in the preseason poll, and the Aggies are number 20. This is Riley Leonard's return to his versus his old coach. Of course, this is Elko's first game in College Station as well. And I'm going to take A&M to win, but Notre Dame to cover here. And here's why. Notre Dame is a very good football team. I think they're going to make the playoffs despite this rough start to the season. I think Riley Leonard's really going to evolve as a quarterback, but I think the 12th man is just going to be too much to handle. This is going to probably be the toughest home away environment he's ever played in. And I've seen Coach Elko turn bad teams into contenders. Take Duke, for example, last year. If you take that exact same team and put it with a different coach, they're not going to do what they did. That was all on Elko. And so I am taking Aggies winning, but Irish covering. And then the final game, Miami versus Florida, 3:30 p.m. in the Swamp. The Canes are number 19 in the preseason poll, and they enter the game as 2.5-point favorites. The Gators, some people maybe don't know, but they have improved massively throughout the offseason. The Gators are a completely different team. They promoted their tight ends coach to offensive coordinator. They hired an assistant defensive coordinator to help out Austin Armstrong. And it's just very good. Of course, I'm a Gator fan, so this is my orange and blue glasses are on. but the Gators have improved heavily. Of course, Miami has the transfer quarterback Cam Ward from Washington State, who, of course, did what he wanted at Washington State last year. He tore apart every defense he played, a little bit, some more than others, of course, but he played well in almost every single game. One issue he did have last year was his decision-making and hanging on to the ball. So turnovers could be a huge part of this game, and so I like the Gators defense to come out strong and just help the Gators jump out to a quick lead in this game. And then I think it's just going to be pretty much back and forth. The right side of the Florida offensive line is going to be really, really scary as a Gator fan saying that. It's just not looking pretty. Last year it wasn't good, and then it hasn't improved much over the offseason, so I'm curious to see where that goes. The Florida defensive line against the Miami offensive line is also another aspect that I would really look into if you're trying to do more research on this game. Two really established parts of these teams. Florida did sustain an injury during fall practice in Jamari Lyons, so the Florida defensive line is looking a little shaky. But I do like the Gators winning, and of course that means they cover as well. And here's why. The main reason is because of the swamp. It's in Gainesville. You can just look back on other 3:30 games and what that has done to previous quarterbacks. Bo Nix when Auburn came to Gainesville in 2019. Hendon Hooker last year in 2023. The swamp is, of course, one of the best environments in college football, and that's why I got the Gators winning and covering. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for listening to my SEC segment. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter, again, at SSN_Gators. That is at SSN_Gators. You can tune into all my Gator content that I post throughout the week. Thank you guys for listening again, and hopefully I'll see y'all next week. Go Gators.
Everybody, we just want you to know we appreciate SSN Florida giving us some SEC stuff, but we also want to let you know about some great things here at Greenville Sports Media. One thing it is True Victory. This is a veteran-owned company. We are working with them, and if you go on to TrueVictory.com, use code FurmanJoust, you can save up to 15%. That's right, 15% on your order, and it helps veterans, and that's something we all want to do because the veterans of our country need us to help them. So make sure you go on to TrueVictory.com, use code FurmanJoust, and you can save 15% today on your order.
Awesome. Thank you so much for our True Victory, guys. We are now going to bring on our newest member of the SI community, our Notre Dame correspondent, Mr. Nathan Erbach. Welcome to the show, my guy.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing great to have you.
We're going to knock out
a child in the background. Sorry.
Hey, it's all good. We're going to knock out a couple birds with, two birds, one stone with your game this week, Nathan. We got one of our pick'em games down there, the Notre Dame A&M game this week. So give us your thoughts on that game.
Yeah, obviously, first and foremost, first game of the season, so you kind of know what to expect in a sense if you follow the program, or you think you know what to expect, right? When you follow a program as much as we do our teams, right? With that said, it's game one, so and it's in a tough atmosphere. Obviously, A&M, I think seats like 111,000. They're going to be rowdy. Notre Dame obviously being a team that travels pretty well with their fan base. It should be just a ruckus crowd in general. So expecting a dogfight. I think A&M's talented. I think in past years they might not have had the coaching to kind of bring that talent to fruition and win games in the SEC specifically against some of the top dogs. But I think Mike Elko is going to do a great job at A&M. I'm just happy that it's game one of the Elko tenure, because I think that could lead to a Notre Dame victory, even though I'm not necessarily overly confident.
What do you think the strengths of the Notre Dame team are, real quick?
Yeah, so first and foremost, defense, and I would say probably specifically the back end and the defensive line specifically. Obviously they have Benjamin Morrison, who was a freshman All-American 2 years ago. I don't know if he actually ended up making an All-American list last year, but pretty much everybody knows the name. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the country. Xavier Watts, I know you were pretty upset when he won the Nagurski Award last year. Obviously a deserving candidate in the sense of having a very, very good season.
Sure.
We don't necessarily need to nitpick who should have won or who could have won or anything like that, but obviously one of the better safeties in the country. Christian Gray is going to be a sophomore corner for them who was highly recruited out of high school. Pretty much everybody in the country wanted him. And he steps in for Cam Hart, who left for the NFL. And then obviously in the middle with Howard Cross and Riley Mills on the defensive line specifically, those guys can rush the passer from the inside. They can win at the point of attack. They can take on double teams and help other guys on the defensive line, get to the quarterback, and different things like that. They have a couple transfers. RJ Oben from Duke, who came over with Riley Leonard. Of course, I'm sure we'll talk about him here in a second. But RJ Oben was a pretty good pass rusher and run specialist or run stop specialist for Duke over the past couple seasons. He should start at defensive end for Notre Dame and do a pretty good job. So I would say a defensive line for sure for both teams should have a pretty good day. But I think what might separate Notre Dame in this game is the back end. And I think it's going to be tough for Texas A&M to move the ball through the air, even with the talented quarterback and Connor Wigman.
All right.
Absolutely. Well, Nathan, give us like a really quick 20 seconds on what you think the impact of Riley Leonard in that offense is going to be as well.
Yeah, so with Riley Leonard, it's funny because obviously they brought in Sam Hartman last year, and everybody thought that was going to bring the offense to new heights. And I think if you looked statistically, it was one of Notre Dame's best offensive seasons, but when they played the big games, it wasn't. I think the big thing with Leonard this year is, first of all, he's a dual threat quarterback. Sam Hartman could run a little bit, but Leonard is a true dual threat quarterback. He can run with power. He can run with speed. And I think he is an underrated passer, partly because of some of the injuries he's had to endure throughout his career, specifically last season, maybe not playing with some of the offensive talent that Notre Dame's going to have when he was at Duke. I'm expecting big things, to be completely honest with you, with Riley Leonard. And, it might not come necessarily game one because it is a tough atmosphere. But overall, I think it's going to be a good season for him. And specifically with Mike Denbrock coming back from LSU to be the offensive coordinator, I think Notre Dame's offense should be much better than last season.
All righty. What's your prediction?
Prediction time.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. We just released our article over on Sports Illustrated, the Notre Dame website on Sports Illustrated, and one of the things we do is we don't tell anybody what we're going to predict. And three of us had the exact same score, and I was one of them. And I had Notre Dame winning 24-16. Again, not super confident in the prediction overall. I think it's going to be low scoring. But I think Notre Dame is going to lean on that running game with Riley Leonard and their couple running backs that are really good in Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. And I know the offensive line right now is, people are talking about how they have too many freshmen starting and all that kind of stuff. But I think in the middle, specifically center and right guard, and even right tackle, even though he doesn't have a lot of experience in Emil Wagner, I think they're going to be able to run the ball effectively on the right side. And those guys are explosive. So I think as the game goes on, Notre Dame's going to be able to kill some clock, keep A&M's defense on the field. And I think it's going to be one of those typical games where, at the end of it, A&M's just like, man, with Leonard coming at us 5 yards at a time, with Love maybe breaking a 15-yard run here and there, with some of that explosiveness that he has, it's going to eventually just wear and tear on that defense. And Notre Dame ends up winning somewhat comfortably 24-16, even though it's going to be a one-possession game.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys,
for joining. Give us a plug too, real quick. Where can we get you at?
Yes, you can find me. It's super easy. Nathan_Erbach. You can see my how to spell everything in the title right here. And then you can follow the Notre Dame on Sports Illustrated at just Notre Dame. It's ND on SI, I think, on Twitter. I think it's brand new, but you guys can figure it out from there. If you just look up Notre Dame on SI, you'll find it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, my guy, for joining the show with us. We look forward to reviewing this game next week with you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much again, Nathan, for giving us your Notre Dame rundown. Now, Jay, my co-host, is going to be rocking us out this week with the Big Ten. So give us your 3 games and then your score predictions for this week.
All right, everybody. Now, normally we would have our guy run, Daniel, who is our Big Ten guy. He had an emergency today, so we are having to do this kind of on the fly. I picked a couple games. The first one is going to be Ohio State versus Akron. This is pretty easy to figure. It's going to be Ohio State by 50 or more. I really think Ohio State's got a great team this year. All right, the next game I want to look at is Indiana versus Florida International. That's right, FI. I think FI is a halfway decent team, and I think they're going to give Indiana trouble, even though it's at Indiana. But Indiana comes through with the win, probably by 3 points. The last game I want to talk about is Nebraska and UTEP. UTEP is a strong team. They're not one to just lay down and just let people run over them. But they're taking on a Nebraska team that I think is going to be a Big Ten player. So give me Nebraska in this game. That's right, Ohio State, Nebraska, and Indiana in their games this week.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jay. Appreciate the insight. We're going to be looking forward to reviewing those games again next week. Next up, we're going to do is we're going to talk about our Big 12. So we haven't forgotten about you guys out there in the Midwest. So we will get our correspondent from the Big 12 on to give you guys some insight on that. Thank you so much, Joe, for your insight this week on the Big 12. We really do appreciate that. Hope you guys enjoy his breakdowns for the games this week. And, Jay, we're going to be looking at our next thing is going to be our sitting pretty underdog of the week. So this is going to be our underdog pick of the week. So, Jay, I'm going to let you take it away, and let's do our underdog take it a week.
All right, let's go.
What's up, everybody? I'm talking about the underdog every single week. This week, we're talking about the ultimate underdog, a team that's getting no respect. Give me the Clemson Tigers over the Georgia Bulldogs. Go Tigers!
All right, thank you so much, Jay, again for the underdog pick of the week. Definitely looking forward to seeing how those picks work out every week. We're going to touch now really quick briefly on our ACC games of the week. Jay, we got 3 big ones coming up this week. Obviously you can see down in the banner below, we got some really big games: Miami, Florida, Florida State, BC, and of course the Dogs and the Tigers. So I'm gonna hit real quick on Florida State, BC. Florida State obviously coming off a really tough loss on the road in Ireland to Georgia Tech. Give me the Noles to rebound this week. I've got them winning by 2 touchdowns over Boston College. And then the next game I've got is going to be Miami and Florida in the swamp. Chomp, chomp, Gators. They're going to end up beating the Canes down in the swamp. So I got them winning by 3 points. And then for our TGFF game of the week, we've got the Dogs and the Tigers. Tigers aren't going to be roaring this week, Jay. It's going to be Dogs by 2 touchdowns. I spent at this amazing restaurant here in downtown Raleigh. This is the 61st year of Amedeo's Italian restaurant here on Western Boulevard. And I'm going to tell you this, Jay, the calzones are fantastic. I'm actually going to just have to try one right now for you. So we're going to go ahead and get that done.
Well, while you do that, Justin, I'm going to tell you, this place is well known all over the South because I was talking to the Furman SID, and every time he goes up there, he stops at Amedeo. I mean, he said, as soon as I told him, he was like, "Are you kidding me? Y'all are going to be there?" I was like, "Yes, sir, we are." He's like, "I love going there."
Best Italian food in Raleigh, hands down. Anytime anybody's like, "Hey, we got to go grab Italian food, we got to go hit up Amedeo's on Western." As you guys can see behind me, I mean, it's nothing but NC State. They're NC State through and through. The cool thing about it was the restaurant was actually started by a former NC State player. And his name actually is Amedeo. So Amedeo's Italian is actually really fully authentic food. Amedeo DeAngelis is the one who started this restaurant. He started it 61 years ago, and it's just been amazing ever since then. So their food is fantastic. They have anything from calzones to pizza, fantastic wines. I mean, you name it. They got pasta, they got chicken, anything that you can just wrap your amazing mouth into. It's just amazing food. So we're super excited that they allowed us to come here, allowed us to, do the show live as we get college football kicked off. I mean, we're literally 2 miles from the stadium at this point, so they are your choice for Italian food if you're coming to Raleigh. Once again, thank you so much to our sponsor over there at Amedeo's Italian Restaurant in Raleigh, North Carolina. Huge supporter of them as they are of us. But it's that time of the show, Jay, where we get on our guest picker of the week, and we would like to welcome all of our listeners to our special guest picker of the week, Dan Shirley of The Athletic. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
Doing great. Good to have you.
Yeah, it's
good to have you on the show.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, look forward to it.
Dan, we got some really awesome games. Obviously, this week it's a really big week for college football. Got a big slate this week, so we're gonna let you do your 13 games picks of the week. So we'll let you kick it off. Let's do Furman Ole Miss first.
Oh, I would think you take Ole Miss. Are we doing points too, or are we just
No, we ain't gonna do.
Okay, good.
I mean, this is all you. You can do points. You can do.
I'm not
score.
a gambler, so I don't gamble, and I certainly don't gamble on college football with my job at The Athletic. But I think you definitely take Ole Miss, right, to win that game.
All right, awesome. Thanks for that. Let's do USC and LSU. Who do you got in that game for us?
Guys, I think LSU's going to win, and I don't think it's going to be close.
Mhm.
I know both teams have a new quarterback. Both teams have new defensive staffs, but I just don't know that I trust Lincoln Riley to focus on that side of the ball because I've never seen him do it. And I think there's just too much talent on the LSU defense for them to be that bad defensively again. And I think they're going to be better defensively. I don't know that USC is going to be. And I think LSU is just going to really take it to USC on Saturday.
I agree.
Awesome. So
Sunday night. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree on that too. LSU defense is just really strong. So can't wait to watch that one as well. I'm going to take us down to the swamp next. I want your pick on Miami, Florida this week.
I think Florida has to be better than they were last year, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess they could be worse, but I don't see that happening. But I think Miami made one of the best portal moves of the year, getting Cam Ward to come in to play quarterback. So, will that help the offensive line? Will that help all the other issues that Miami had? We'll see. But I think Miami wins this game, and I don't know that it's going to be really close.
Okay. Tell us your thoughts now on the Noles this week. Obviously they had a tough loss last week, but they get the Boston College Eagles this week. So let us know, did the Noles rebound?
I think they do. I guess I was the only one, or I was in the minority. I thought Georgia Tech was going to win that game last week.
We both picked it, Georgia Tech. Yeah.
Did you really? Good. Well, there's three of us, I think.
Yeah.
I said it on our show here in Macon. I said it on a couple of shows that I go on each week that I just thought Georgia Tech was going to win. And it wasn't like it was fluky, right? Florida State didn't lose that game with a bunch of mistakes and a bunch of turnovers. But I do think they bounced back this week. I just don't think they're the same team they were last year. At a lot of different spots. And but I don't think that BC is ready for that kind of a game on the road at night, on Labor Day night. So I think Florida State will win, but I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people would probably think it would be.
Perfect. So let's hit up the Midwest now. Let's go to Kansas State game. They got UT Martin this week, so it should be a pretty little easy one for you to tee up for you this week.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I can get this one right, I think. I like Avery Johnson a lot at quarterback. I think he's probably a guy who will be in the Heisman hunt by the end of the year, a little bit maybe under the radar, and I think they will roll coming up on Saturday. I think they're my pick to be in the Big 12 championship game, them in Utah. So I think this will be a good start for them.
Yep. Absolutely. So I'll give you, I think this one might even be easier for you. So hopefully you can be able to get this one too. But we're going to head to Tennessee and UT Chattanooga this week. What are your thoughts on the Volunteers?
I like Chattanooga, but they're not ready for this. I like in the SoCon, I think Chattanooga will be fine. and I like the SoCon a lot. I think there's a lot of good teams in the SoCon.
Oh yeah.
So, but Tennessee is. I can't wait to see what Tennessee is this year. They took a little bit of a step back. Now they have a new quarterback, and everybody knows his story and the talent that he is. But I think they're going to improve again this year, and we'll see what they are. But this one should not be close.
Okay. Let's stay with the Big 12 too. Now we'll go Oklahoma State and South Dakota State this week.
Now this one's scary because if you know FCS football, you know how good South Dakota State is.
Mm-hmm.
We saw North Dakota State give Colorado a scare last night. So I just feel like Oklahoma State at home will find a way to win. But boy, I think this is one I wouldn't want on my schedule if I was an FBS team, because South Dakota State is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is going to be a ball game into the fourth quarter, but Oklahoma State will win.
Awesome. And then we'll stay in the Big 12 again. Texas El Paso is going to be on the tap this week. So we're going to get them and see what your thoughts are on that game. They're taking on Nebraska this week. So give us what your thoughts on them.
I think Nebraska could be one of the most improved teams in the country. They were so close last year with Matt Rule, and now they've got Dylan Raiola at quarterback, and everybody is so excited about him, seeing what they're going to be. So I know next week is going to be a big game for them playing Colorado. That's what everybody will be focused on. But I think they get off to a good start. I think he plays well, and they'll win this one easy.
All right. And then, so, Dan, are the Longhorns ready? Are they ready to make the playoffs? So we got that game, Texas and Colorado State.
They did last year, right? So, that Texas was always back. I'm doing air quotes, back for 20 years. But they were last year. So I think Texas will win. I don't think it'll be close. I think we'll actually get to see Arch Manning play a little bit in the second half of this game.
Yep.
And then Kentucky Southern Miss. We're going to the SEC on that.
I tell you guys, keep an eye on Brock Vandegrift at Kentucky. He was a 5-star coming out of high school. He sat at Georgia for a couple of years, never really got a chance to play, and now he's Kentucky's quarterback, and I think he's going to get a chance to show what he can be. I'm interested to see what that is. Southern Miss, I think, is in a little bit of a tough spot here because I just don't think they can compete with Kentucky.
All right, and then let's go to the big game at Kyle Field this week with the Irish and the Aggies.
I like A&M. I do. I like Riley Leonard a lot at quarterback, but I like Connor Wegman too, and I like what Mike Elko's doing with this program. There's a focus that there hasn't been the last couple of years. It felt like there was always all this outside noise with A&M. With the previous coaching staff, and I think Mike is going to get rid of all that, and I think they win Saturday night. That one's going to be a fun one to watch.
Awesome. Well, it's that time. It's the game of the week. It's I gave my.
No, we got one more. We got Penn State and West Virginia.
And,
Penn State, West Virginia.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Go ahead. No, man. I mean, I stopped it because I don't like getting cut out. Like we could have just done it and then went on. But we're good. Go ahead and do West Virginia real quick, and then we'll put fresh back in on it. So that's my fault.
That's okay. You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I like West Virginia a lot in this game, guys. I know everybody is kind of picking Penn State to be a playoff team. Maybe they end up being that, but at West Virginia and what Neil Brown and that staff did last year, when this time last year people were calling for his job, and they won 9 games. I think West Virginia is going to win this game Saturday afternoon. Is really going to come up with the shot. For a lot of people are going to be surprised by that, but I'm not.
Okay. Well, now it's that time for our big dog game of the week. Jay is obviously already picking Georgia. I already know. I'm just I actually did pick the dogs this week. So Dan, give us your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you have to pick Georgia, right? I mean, they're the number 1 team in the country. They're a lot of people's favorite to win the whole thing. So I would lean that direction, but I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think there's going to be a blowout. I don't think whatever the line is. I think it was at 14. I think now it's down to 11.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's too high. I really think that Clemson is going to be much improved and is going to be in this game in the fourth quarter with a chance to win. Now, can they get it done and not beat themselves like they did early in the year last year? But Georgia is just so good. It's hard for me to pick against them going into a game against anybody, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Clemson's going to have a chance to win it, but can they get it done?
Awesome.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate you so much for joining the show. We always enjoy your takes. So tell us where everybody can find you at as well. Where can we get you out, and where can we catch all your good content?
Yeah, we're gotheathletic.com. That's where all of our college football coverage is. I'm on the college staff there. And then we also have I also have a radio show here in Macon, Georgia. You go to thecreekfm.com is our radio station. And that's where we do all of our local stuff here for Central Georgia, Mercer, and all the high schools that we cover around here. So, but theathletic.com is where my paycheck comes from. So check that out.
Thank you so much, man. We really do appreciate you for joining the show. It's been a pleasure. Jay, I think it's time for us to maybe kind of see who's kind of out there in the weeds in South Carolina. I mean, I think there's somebody else that's
Oh, Lord. Please tell me we're not bringing up Obogby back onto the show. Not again.
I think he's somewhere out there, Jay. I mean, I think it's time for him to give us his take on Georgia.
He's probably at the local bar.
I mean, he's probably somewhere. Maybe he might be somewhere just roaming the streets of Anderson. Who knows?
But you know what? Uncle Bobby did pick Georgia Tech over Florida State, so we got to give him that credit. He might be a few screws loose, but he did pick that game.
Well, I mean, we look forward to maybe he's got it together this week, Jay. So maybe we can see if he's free to let us give his thoughts on that. So again, thank you, Dan, for showing. We're gonna let you go, but thank you so much again for joining the show.
Yeah, guys, appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the football.
All right,
Absolutely.
Appreciate you coming on. Good seeing you again.
Good to see you too, Jay.
Hello, everybody. This is your old pal, Uncle Bobby, for the College Game Day. We're talking about TGFF Game Day, the best show on the earth. And I'm here to let you know that Uncle Bobby has been struggling this week. Who do I pick? Do I pick them puppy dogs down there at Athens, the ones that keep going to jail? Or do I pick the kitty cats here in Clemson? The one that Dabo won't take no calls from nobody. I'm telling you right now, I don't know what I'm going to do. But you know what? Who helps me? The best place to go if you're in Tigerland. I'm talking about Clemson Wine Bar. Oh, my goodness. There's ladies down here. They take care of you. They do the best job. You won't beat anything down here at Clemson than Clemson Wine Bar. And when I tell you they're great because I'm picking Clemson. Give them to me, baby.
This has been a fantastically great show. That was probably one of the craziest takes I feel like I've ever seen in my life. But
Yeah, Bobby at Clemson Wine Bar, I tell you, that two things you don't want to see is him drinking an adult beverage and making predictions.
I mean, maybe he comes through for us again as he did last week. So you never know. But yeah, Jay, we appreciate all of our sponsors. Just wanted to give a shout out. Thank you so much for everybody that supports our show. But we're going to wrap the show up this week by giving your current week 1 college football teams, playoff teams for us. So Jay, I'm going to let you start with who do you think is going to be your 12 teams that you've got in the playoff right now?
Well, I'm going to start by saying these are not in order. So before anybody starts calling up, I'm not saying that this person's going to be number 1 in the nation and this will be number 12. I think these 12 teams, there's going to be a jumble around. So where they spot, I don't know. But this is the teams that I'm picking. First off in the playoff, Ole Miss. That's right, Ole Miss. Not Georgia, Ole Miss is going to be one of the top 4 teams. Next up, Ohio State. I don't like them, but you know what? You got to respect them. Ohio State's one of my second team. Number 3, Kansas State. That's right, Kansas State out of the Big 12. I think they're a team that's going to be in the championship game, and they're going to come out with the win. Next up, Clemson. That's right, Clemson. All you NC State, Florida State, Boston College, Miami, get ready. Clemson is back, baby, and they will be one of the top 4 teams. After that, we got Texas, Nebraska, Oregon, Georgia will make it, Notre Dame, Missouri, NC State, and my team out of the group of 4 wish wannabes, give me Coastal Carolina to be the surprise team making the final 12. They won't make it past that game, but you know what? They will make it in there. So that's my 12 for this week.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jay. So I'm going to run through mine really quick. So I definitely do have Ohio State coming out of the Big Ten. They're just too strong on defense. They loaded up. So that was my team from there. Obviously, I'm taking the Dogs. I mean, I'm a firm believer in them out of the SEC. I think they're going to win the championship there. And also for the ACC, I'm going to take Clemson as well for the ACC title. After watching the games this week, I'm convinced that, these teams that were maybe thought to be as good may not be as good, but, we'll circle back on that. And then, obviously I've got Alabama as well. So ultimately, I think they're going to be in. I think Notre Dame is going to be in. Also, give me Michigan. I know that sounds weird. Yeah, I said Michigan. So I've got them, and I've got Utah, surprisingly, coming out of the Big 12. So I think Utah's going to take that 4th seed. And then ultimately, for me, I'm going to keep running it down. I'm going to have, obviously Clemson. I'm going to have NC State in as well. So ultimately, for me, I've got them. I've got Notre Dame. I've got I've also, my last team is going to be, the Penn State. I'm going Penn State this week. So we're going to revisit that. So we're going to keep on trying to narrow this thing down as the weeks continue to roll on. But we look forward to you guys joining our show. And this is going to be week 3. Next week's going to be even a bigger week. So a lot bigger games, a lot bigger stakes. So we look forward to you guys joining the show. But thank you guys so much for joining TGFF Game Day, and it's week 2. So have a great week, y'all. Enjoy the weekend of football.
TGFF, pick up a football game day. 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 You have tuned in to another episode of Thank God for Football, brought to you by the Fanboys, powered by Greenville Sports Media.